the global financial system was melting down. And this time, it will hit the U.S. economy much harder because of the shale miracle. CNBC's Jim Cramer is warning that many U.S. oil companies will become bankrupt if the price of oil remains this low. The price of copper, too, has plunged all the way down to $2. The last time it was this low was just before the stock market crash of 2008. Consumption is slowing down. U.S. imports of goods declined by 6.6% on a year-over-year basis. U.S. exports of goods declined by 10.4% on a year-over-year basis. 2015 was the worst year for holiday spending since 2008. U.S. manufacturing is contracting at the fastest pace that we have seen since the last recession. If just one or two of these indicators were flashing red, that would be bad enough. The fact that all of them seem to be saying the exact same thing tells us that big trouble is ahead. So, what are the experts saying?
What do you see right now? Actually, the economy is fundamentally strong. Housing is booming, technology is booming, commercial real estate's booming.
In all fairness to Obama, during his administration in the last few years, jobs have been created and the jobless rate is way down.
If you just kept it simple, you'd say that the United States is growing almost at kind of a trend growth. Whether it's 2.5 or just under 3% growth, or maybe even a little above it. We'll know, but around trend growth.
Following our checklist, we have an election year, the Fed raising interest rates, an economy slowing down, experts saying everything is fine. The only thing that's missing is the bubble that Trump warned will burst before the November elections. Does he know something we don't?
The word bubble, remember the word bubble, you heard it here first. I mean, I don't want to sound rude, but I hope if it explodes, it's going to be now rather than 2 months into another administration.
Well, to understand exactly what a bubble is, we need to look back at the dot-com and the mortgage CDO bubbles. In both cases, people thought that they had something that would never stop growing, something too big to fail. In both cases, stocks and housing attracted huge sums of money, driving their prices way beyond the actual value. This is just like gambling. Buyers get the asset, hoping they will sell it in the future for a profit. When the bubble bursts, those who are left with the asset suffer huge losses. Right now, I must ask you to give me your full attention. The following 5 minutes will be shocking and a little bit tricky to understand, and I hope you're sitting down for this. My prediction for 2016 is that we will see a banking collapse that will make the 2008 crisis look like a Sunday afternoon picnic. This coming crash will wipe out the entire U.S. financial sector and take with it savings, deposits, retirement funds, pensions. It'll be nothing short of a financial bloodbath. How can this be possible? Well, remember how bubbles are created when something seems to grow indefinitely? The delusion is that something is too big to fail. But the bigger the bubble becomes, the faster it fails. Right now, people think big banks can't fail because of their size and importance in the world economy. It is as blatant as their name suggests. How did we get here? On September 18, 2008, Hank Paulson, the U.S. Secretary of the Treasury, told members of Congress that $5.5 trillion in wealth would disappear by 2 p.m. that day, unless the government took immediate action. What took place next was undoubtedly the biggest blackmail in history. The threat: keep the big banks alive, or else the economy implodes and depositors lose their money. In December 2008, the first of many financial stability measures was put into place. The Fed's mission from now on was to keep the big banks alive no matter what. Economists calculated that the total cost of the various measures put into place to accommodate big banks was in excess of $20 trillion up to this year. The too big to fail banks now had a taxpayer-sponsored safety net. The message was clear: do whatever risky business you want. We've got your back. And this is how Congress and the Federal Reserve created the ultimate bubble, the too big to fail bubble. The idea that the too big to fails were going to get cut down to size after the financial crisis has turned into a giant myth. In fact, they've become even bigger. J.P. Morgan Chase, number one among banks in total assets, has seen its base swell to more than $2.5 trillion. The The company's deposit base alone has grown by 29% since the end of 2008. The so-called Big Four institutions, J.P. Morgan, Bank of America, Citigroup, and Wells Fargo, continue to distance themselves from the pack, with some $8.2 trillion in total assets. That's 154% more than the rest of the top 50 banks combined. Unfortunately, the old saying, the bigger they are, the harder they fall, will prove correct. And when they collapse, the result will be nothing short of catastrophic for the world economy. But for a bubble to inflate, you also need an asset on which speculation, or rather gambling, has become so rampant and so over the top that a disaster is just waiting to happen. Let me introduce you to the world's biggest and most dangerous casino. It's called the derivatives market. And right now, the total net worth of all outstanding derivatives contracts is a staggering $552.9 trillion, according to the Bank for International Settlements. $552.9 trillion. Let that number sink in for a moment. Total U.S. debt right now stands close to $19 trillion. And most Americans find that shocking. But very few have any idea of how big this financial market is. The entire economy of the world, in real goods and services, is evaluated at around $78 trillion annually. The derivative market is 7 times the value of every good and every service provided around the world in an entire year. At first, I thought this number was too big to be real. But the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency, independent bureau of the U.S. Department of the Treasury, confirms it. Make no mistake, you are looking at the biggest bubble in the history of mankind. Something 7 times greater than the entire economy of the world. So what exactly is a derivative? A derivative is a speculative contract, a bet placed on stocks, mortgages, interest rates, the price of commodities like gold, silver, coffee, oil, or the possibility of a company or even a nation to default. Basically, right now, there is nothing of economic worth that does not have some sort of derivative attached to it. All derivatives are bets. This is not a metaphor, an analogy, or a generalization. The players on the derivative market gamble trillions on the future price of the asset to which the derivative is attached. These are the speculative contracts that will eventually pop the current gigantic bubble. Warren Buffett once referred to derivatives as financial weapons of mass destruction. He was proven right. The CDOs that led to the crash of 2008 were derivatives, as they drew their value from interest payments on mortgages and housing prices. They were traded on this market just like all the other derivatives, and they were just a tiny part of the market. In 2008, there were about $500 billion worth of CDOs. That was only a very tiny fraction of the derivatives market, yet it was enough to almost collapse the economy of the world. Remember how I said that this is the world's largest casino? In a nutshell, the derivatives market, or more correctly put, the derivatives casino, is where big banks and other financial institutions place their bets on every aspect of the world economy. Yet with these bets, everybody loses. So how did this bubble inflate to more than $550 trillion? Sajak controls the derivative department of one of the too-big-to-fail banks.